Hello, welcome to another edition of Better Minneapolis. Today I'm here with chef and restaurateur David Fhima. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, why don't you give us a little bit of your history? You've been operating restaurants in Minneapolis and the surrounding area for a long time.
Well, unfortunately and fortunately, the older you are, the longer your history is. That's the unfortunate and the fortunate part. I've been in the Twin Cities for over 30 years. I've operated many restaurants. I've been in this industry as a whole. Before moving to Minnesota, I used to live and work in Los Angeles for almost 15 years. And so I've been in this country for over 40, from Europe. I was born in Casablanca, Morocco, to French, Moroccan, Spanish mother, Sicilian father. I'm like the all-American mutt out here. Now you guys are stuck with me a little bit.
All right. So how did you get started in restaurants?
You know, my dad wanted me to be an engineer. I am one of 17 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
I know, that's a big wow.
Where do you fit in the
It
mix?
didn't seem like a wow. Well, there were 7 older sisters before me, and I was the first male born. Right after me, there were 4 more sisters. So at one point, there were 11 sisters and myself.
Oh my gosh.
It has given me a perspective unlike anything I could have ever been blessed with. And so neither my mom or dad went to school. They were both illiterate, didn't know how to read or write. They never drove a car. But they were some of the wisest, most amazing people you'll ever meet in your life. The restaurant business was not a business that I planned on being in. My dad wanted me to be an engineer, so I went to engineering school. I'm an engineer by trade. Never worked a day in my life as an engineer. Went to the University of Geneva, Switzerland. But while doing that, I also worked at different restaurants, and somehow I got the restaurant bug and worked in Paris making croissants when I was 15 and 16 years old, and in Switzerland at Chez Robert, and then when I came to visit the US, I wasn't planning on staying here. I was just planning on visiting this amazing country, wind up staying. And what do you do when you don't speak the language? You know how to cook a little bit. You knock on a French restaurant door, and the door opened up, and the rest is history. And I wind up, one thing led to another, worked at different amazing restaurants in so many different capacities. I waited tables, I cleaned potatoes, I made sauces, and one day I was a chef, and the next day I owned a restaurant, and here we are, years later. So, of course, in between there's many things that have happened, but the restaurant bug was really at the table that my mom and my grandma sat, where we sat down and spent hours talking, eating, arguing, and developing this. I knew that subconsciously, I knew that joy, the only way for me to have it in my life was in being in this industry.
So what are some of the rewards you think of running a restaurant?
Talking to people.
Okay.
That's number one.
Yeah.
I'm a people person. I am. That's the greatest reward. I have met so many incredible and not so incredible people. Your life experience starts and ends with people. If you're by yourself and have the greatest exposure to fame and fortune, but you're by yourself, you have led a very poor life. If you have nothing in your life but the people that you are in contact with, you've led a rich life. And that comes from...
Yeah, you sort of have to have that host nature in your blood. I
Oh
think,
yeah,
to stay.
oh yeah. You have to have it. And I got that from my dad. I mean, my dad, there was not a day... My dad was a healer. People would come to the house. They'll have a broken arm, I don't know if it was the amount of booze that he gave them when he was trying to straighten it out, and he would put oils and herbs and he would heal them. And there were people in our house all the time, and our table was full of food, and so I naturally gravitated towards that. I think it's not everybody. I was lucky to be blessed with that loving of hosting people.
So, what was your first restaurant in Minneapolis?
My first was the Minneapolis Cafe at the Calhoun Beach Club.
Okay.
Yeah, that was when I first came to Minnesota. That was wow. That was over 30 years ago.
30 years. And so we're in your current restaurant.
Yeah, Maison Margot. Yeah.
And you have some bakeries, and what's the full scope of your?
Well, the full scope. I am a restaurant addict. My name is David Fhima. I am a restaurant addict. I mean, that's really. I love creating. I love designing. I love putting good food on a plate. Today we own Mother Dough, which is a coffee, pastry, French, elevated sandwiches, salads. We have a few of them downtown. We just opened our Mother Dough headquarters, where we're making everything in there and distributing it to other partners, including our restaurants. Maison Margot, which is our beautiful French restaurant. Vagabondo in Excelsior, our Sicilian restaurants. We have a catering company where we do a lot of caterings called Artisan and Spice. We do a lot of work in sports, the Minnesota Timberwolves and other teams. We're blessed with a lot of good things in our lives, a lot of challenging things in our lives, and on the good days, the challenging things are minimal, and on the bad days, they rear their ugly heads, and so that's what we have going right now, and we are in the middle of a different time in our industry right now.
Well, I know people love your restaurants.
Thank you.
But I think there's been some struggles in the restaurant industry.
No doubt.
So I just learned, like yesterday, the Lowry is closing on Hennepin, which a lot of people were upset to see that one go.
Very, very, very bad. Yeah.
And part of the reasoning they gave behind that were not only the construction they did upon Hennepin and the length of time it took, but then also just the regulations, I guess, around owning a restaurant and taxes and different things like that. We've seen just recently Cardamom in the Walker, the Daniel Del Prado restaurant, is switching to QR codes and laying off some staff. So, I mean, the restaurant industry is always changing. Obviously, it's never been easy to run a restaurant. But are things different now? I mean, these other restaurants, are they indicators of like big changes coming, do you think?
A restaurant closes not for one particular reason. There are many reasons. The cynical will tell you a lot of different stories. Don't believe it. No restaurateur ever wants to close, wants to make bad food, wants to give bad service. None of us go into this industry with the intent to do something mediocre. We all come in with high hopes and dreams, and whatever skill the universe and God gave us, we put it in there. And none of us are absolved of any responsibility when we close our restaurants. We close our restaurants. Sometimes we are at fault. Sometimes we don't manage our restaurants properly. Sometimes we are not reinventing ourselves. Sometimes we sit on our laurels a little too much, when the restaurants are doing well and we're not. There's a lot of truth to that. Sometimes there are other elements that come to play. What you have to understand, and I think what we have failed in our city to understand, and that many other cities have understood, is that restaurants are unlike any other business. People will hear this and go, well, why do you choose that? Why do you do that? Absolutely. This is not a complaint. We're not victims. We make a choice, okay? And we make a choice of going into an industry that is very difficult, that works on smaller margins. But the one of those choices also is that we get to work in this amazing city, which is the city of Minneapolis. And this city has changed politically, and I'm not talking politically in terms of Republican, Democrat, that is kind of bullshit. I'm talking about how we are understanding our industry and supporting the industry. It has changed. And some of it for the better. We are trying to be much more socially aware. Great. We're trying to give people more time off, and amazing. But you have to understand that what is good for a corporation and the rules that you set up for a corporation does not work for the restaurant industry. Will not work for the restaurant industry. For one, a restaurant can work well and survive and thrive on small margins. But when those small margins become smaller, there is no room for error. There are none.
So are there particular things you're thinking of that are making those margins smaller right now in the city?
Absolutely. I mean, everything from, I think people who have family and need to take time off should do that. I think people, all of those, but in our industry, they impact us greatly. How do we create an environment where people are making a great living? It's a tipped industry. So when you are increasing wages, which honestly, I don't know how anybody can survive on $15 an hour. But people can survive on $15 an hour and $400 in tips.
Right.
It's different. We are sort of creating rules for the city, which we should, that creates a fair wages and everything, but we are lumping the restaurants in all of these things, and they don't always work.
I guess what I've heard is that it's the price per plate, you can only go so high, right? And if you go too high, you're going to lose customers, right? And so
it's an incredible struggle. I mean, Maison Margot is priced on the higher end, and we've seen an impact. Mother d'Eau is on the lower end. Vagabondo is somewhere in between, but everyone is affected. You cannot raise the price of your plate to commensurate with inflation, pay scale, rent, electricity. You just cannot. You'll be paying $200 for a steak. You just cannot.
So you mentioned, you have the Vagabondos in Excelsior. Have you seen a noticeable difference in doing business in Minneapolis versus doing business in Excelsior?
100% night and day.
So what are some of those differences?
Excelsior has been, the cost of doing business in Excelsior is 30-40% lower.
Yeah.
Right there. Staff makes a living there just the same way, if not more. You got to remember, the busier we are, the more money everybody makes. To be busy, you got to be affordable. The pricing at Vagabondo is lower than Maison Margot. It's not the cost of goods, it's the cost of doing business. It's not just the quality is the same, The difference is, in order for us to make a profit on a plate, it's lower there than it is right here. The political climate there is much more encouraging for business.
Right.
It's just the truth. People may not like what I have to say, but I'm saying and I'm speaking the truth. And I know, regardless of what people feel like politically, I know they love this city, no matter who they are, and they want to support its growth.
Let me ask you about this quote that you gave. This is kind of what motivated me to contact you for this. Was you were saying that you've never seen the industry in a more precarious position than it is today due to our divisive political climate. And too many customers these days are only patronizing restaurants they know share their political beliefs. Political and civic leadership in Minneapolis has made it too expensive to operate in the city, and it could have a devastating ripple effect. What do you mean by that? When you say that our divisive political climate, it seems like, how I interpret this is it's dividing not just people along political views, but also upon what businesses they frequent. Is that what you're intending, or?
So let me.
Why are we in a precarious position?
I know that I remember the days. I mean, listen, I lived in LA during the Rodney King trial and subsequent riots.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen divisiveness. I have closed many businesses during the 2007, 2008 stock market crash. I have seen COVID and its impact on our industry. The George Floyd murder. I have seen all that, and what is different today and what is impacting our industry today, food is it's a cultural phenomenon. It's the culture of going to a restaurant, sharing a dinner with someone. It's an amazing way of leaving everything behind and going somewhere, any restaurant that you like, irrespective, and you never knew anything about those restaurants. You never knew anything about them. All you knew is that you liked that place, it looked good. In the last couple of years, with what has been going on around the world, we've seen people starting to target restaurants based on what they thought those restaurants were politically motivated by.
Mm-hmm.
Not only the political motivation on a domestic level, but on international levels.
Right.
And it has gotten so scary that I talk to people in the suburbs who are not coming to Minneapolis because they think it's unsafe. Yeah, I think a lot of people sort of think that way. I think Minneapolis is as safe as any other city. I think people are going. I don't want to sort of like be lectured. I don't want to be told. There's the discomfort that our views, if they are slightly different, we're not welcome. Mm-hmm. And when ICE was here, which they still are, which we were completely against what they were doing, there is absolutely room for rule of law. But there's also a humanity that has to happen. For those who supported or didn't support ICE, for those who didn't support ICE but they chose to do it differently, some people chose to close the restaurant, some people didn't. Unless you did it the way a certain group of people wanted you to do it, you are now a bad person.
Right. We're making these very rigid rules.
It is dangerous.
Yeah.
It is dangerous. Imagine doing that at home. Imagine, I'm one of 17 brothers and sisters. In my family, there is Jews, there's Catholic, there's Muslims, there is gay, there is straight, that all of it. Imagine if I said, okay, unless you are exactly like me, you're not my family. What happened to us?
Mm-hmm.
That impact on our industry today is that underlining thing that no one is talking about, that I'm upset that I'm the only one in our industry talking about it. And I would like to see a lot of chefs that I talk to who see it but don't want to talk about it because they don't want to be boycotted.
Right. So has that changed at all since the surge has slowed down? I know it's
No,
there's
it
still people
hasn't
here.
changed. It hasn't changed. It's there. It's dormant.
Mhm.
It is. There is a little hate out there. There is a little bigotry out there. There is a lot out there that, and I'm going. Our city council is not making things any better when you are trying to give licenses to people based on what you think they're political and how supportive they were of ICE or not.
You're referring to the hotels.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't. Business has nothing to do with that. That is not what we're here for. When are we judge, jury, and holier than thou? What has happened?
Yeah.
We should say, okay, those hotels, let's go to that place and argue with them the merits of what they did. Let's share a meal with them. Let's figure out why are you working? Why are your views the way they are versus of mine? And you're gonna find out in most cases, 99% of the people, 99% of them have views that are very similar to yours. They just deal with things differently than you are. And the fact that they're dealing with something differently, now you have become rigid. And you go at that keyboard warrior. And people are giving reviews to places based not on their food or their decor, but based on what they perceive their affiliations to a social cause, to a party. That is dangerous.
Yeah, I have heard about that people they're basically kind of like put a false review out there or a review saying it's a bad
Not one,
restaurant.
hundreds.
Yeah.
And you as a restaurateur have to sort of like spend your time instead of creating. Hey, Google, can you take this out? There is a divisiveness. There are three things happening, and we can do something about each one of them. Politically, mayor, governor, city council, understand our industry, create rules for the end that are specific to our industry. We want them. We want to pay better. We want our better wages. We want social environments, but understand the industry and create rules for it.
Well, was that going to be the intention of the Labor Standards Board? Or?
Yeah, but it's made up by people who've never worked in it.
Right.
Imagine, being a consultant for a hospital, and you do not know how to treat a headache.
Yeah.
So that's one. Two, understand that the heartbeat of our wonderful city starts with culture. You want to talk about culture? About diversity. You have such incredible amount of restaurants. So many restaurants that bring so much that understanding that we live in a city, we are blessed to live in a city that you can have French one day, Asian, Chinese another day, Thai the next day, and you could eat out every day for 3 days, 3 times a week, and not do the same restaurant.
Yeah.
That's how amazing it is, and have really good food. And thirdly, stop for a minute and think about the impact that you have on a restaurant by understanding that the impact that you have is also on its employees, on the vendors that sell to that restaurant.
Yeah.
Those vendors, there is a ripple effect out there. Now, you have the right to say whatever you want to say. I mean, we live in the most amazing country in the world, correct? I think. And that's fine. And you have the right to support anybody you want. But that's your choice. Stop making your choice, everybody else's choices, that choice, and everybody else, when they don't choose the same way you do, they're now all of a sudden not good people. That has to stop. That is creating an impasse in our industry. We need, it's a form of, I don't want to use the word discrimination, but it's that is impacting us. So when you are in the suburbs and your restaurants are thriving, and the people, for us to do well, people from downtown need to go to the lake, and for us to do well, the people from the lakes need to come downtown.
Yeah. Do you think it's just is safety the only reason that more people from there aren't coming in, or what are some of the other reasons?
There's a social, cultural divisiveness where would you go to somewhere where you feel you're unwelcome? Mm-hmm. If you were, whatever it is that your beliefs are, whatever it is that your religion is, whatever it is, the color of your skin, if you thought you went somewhere and you were now different, would you go there?
Right.
Today, there is this belief that our downtown industry, our restaurant industry, and stands for things that are different than people who have restaurants in the suburbs. And that's not true. The restaurant people have a lot more in common in terms of being community forward, progressive, than any other industry.
Yeah.
Than any other industry.
So what sort of impact do you think being in the Michelin Guide, they made a big deal out of this, is that going to spur business? Is that going to help?
You would have asked me this when I was in my 20s, when I was chasing stars and dreams and accolades and awards. And to a certain extent, we all do. I would have had a different answers than I have today. It's about time. I think the city deserves it. This city has an incredible amount of restaurants that are deserving to be looked out. Is it going to change how restaurants are doing what they're doing? I don't think so.
Yeah.
We're still going to do great food. For me, on a personal level, great. But I don't care.
So one of the things that also was cited in the closing of the Lowry was that consumer habits are changing. Are you seeing that? They're talking about maybe people going out to dine less frequently because of the economy. They're not drinking as much because it's, maybe they're more health conscious. Are you seeing those trends?
There is absolutely a lot of truth to that. Alcohol consumption has drastically gone down. Mm-hmm. And we're talking double digits, 40, 50, 60%. That impacts greatly. You're talking about an economy right now that's fragile, correct? So um, that certainly has an impact. But like what I said when we started talking, those things by themselves impact, but don't close a restaurant.
Right.
It's a confluence, it's many, many things put together, including our own responsibilities of running a good restaurant. What I am saying is that a restaurateur, a chef, a business owner is responsible for so many, many, many things to make his or her restaurant successful. We do not need interference by government, by other elements, because once you have those, then it creates a perfect storm. And we had that in our Twin Cities this year.
So you don't, I can certainly understand you don't want interference, don't want more regulation. Are there things, though, that you think the city could be doing more of to make this a welcoming place, to make it easier for restaurants to conduct business? I mean, what would you like to see the city council and government do?
Yeah, I would like for them to look at our restaurant industry and understand our business model, understand our labor, understand how all of these labor standards can positively or negatively affect us. I would like for them to also understand that when they are making rules, let's take the fees, the hidden fees. We were using those to just pay for health insurance. We still have health insurance, but we no longer have those fees to cover those. In 2 or 3 years, when we had those fees, we may have had less than half a dozen complaints about them. And when we explained it, people, oh no, we won't. We have to understand as we are creating, the government's job is to create rules and regulations that govern to take care of the worker. Absolutely. But don't create them in a vacuum and mix restaurants with airlines.
Right.
And chiropractic offices. It's a very different beast. It's a different business.
So, are there any topics that we didn't get to today that you wanted to bring up?
No, I think our number one thing that we need to do right now is just sort of like take a deep breath and understand that restaurants really are here to entertain, to give you, to make a living, and really, restaurants are never the place where division starts. It's where division ends.
Right. People come together, they talk about their lives, their differences, they do that over a meal. And
even families that we hate, we go there on Thanksgiving and we just enjoy it.
Right, right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time
You
today.
are very
It's a
welcome.
lovely restaurant.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I do hope that business turns around and more people.
Business is good. It's not what it was. I think it'll get back. I'm very hopeful about the city of Minneapolis. We have an incredible city, incredible people, community that live in it. We just have to be a little bit mindful of what we say and do because it impacts.
Yeah,
greatly.
I think there's a lot of concern right now that some of the things that they're doing are not, I don't know, what a lot of people consider core functions. You know, like the Cuba resolution and stuff like that. Like, they don't necessarily understand that some of their actions, although well-intended, create an impression of the city that it's not welcoming to everyone, that it's not stable for business, right? I mean, I think businesses like to have a stable playing field to know how to operate and stuff. And
We have a lot of issues that we need to take care of at home.
yeah,
You know, the old saying, charity begins at home. Take care of home.
well, let's leave it at that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was great.